Star Trek: Strange New Worlds Season 3 director breaks down seminal Captain Kirk episode. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds Season 3 has already delivered several standout hours of television, but none have generated as much conversation as the long-awaited Captain Kirk-centric episode that premiered mid-season. Blending nostalgia with reinvention, the episode has become an instant fandom favorite, one that balances adventure, emotion, and the complicated legacy of one of science fiction's most iconic captains. Now the episode's director has stepped forward to explain how it was crafted, why certain creative choices were made, and how it fits into the larger tapestry of Kirk's future. In a recent behind-the-scenes breakdown, the director shared surprising insights into the process of shaping this pivotal story, one that not only honors Captain James T. Kirk, but uses him to explore the show's ongoing themes of destiny, mentorship, and the burden of command. What emerges is a fascinating look into how Strange New Worlds continues to walk the tightrope between classic Trek homage and bold new storytelling. A Kirk episode unlike any before. Before cameras even rolled, the director revealed that the creative team was intent on doing something different with Kirk. Audiences have seen countless portrayals of the character, from William Shatner's original legend to Chris Pine's star-powered reboot and Paul Wesley's Strange New Worlds interpretation. But this episode required a fresh angle. According to the director, the goal was to bridge the Kirk fans know with the Kirk he's still becoming. Because SNW chronologically predates the original series, the Kirk we meet here is not yet the confident legend of Starfleet lore. He's still forging his path, making mistakes, and learning from leaders like Christopher Pike. The episode itself hinges on a complicated rescue mission that spirals into an ethical quandary, a classic Trek setup, yet one uniquely tailored to Kirk's early character development. The director explained that the writing team approached the story not as an action showcase, but as a formative moment where Kirk confronts the limits of his instinctive style of command. In other words, this episode shows the crucible that helps mold Kirk from a brilliant young officer into the captain audience's revere. Crafting the visual language of Kirk, one of the most intriguing nuggets from the director is how the episode's cinematography intentionally evolves alongside Kirk's arc. In the opening act, scenes involving Kirk are shot with tighter framing and more kinetic camera movement. The director describes this as capturing a version of Kirk who is still operating on impulse, still pushing forward even when the situation demands restraint. As the story unfolds and its moral consequences weigh heavier, the visual approach shifts. Shots widen. The pacing slows. Kirk physically occupies more space in the frame, as though the camera is acknowledging his growing sense of responsibility. By the final act, the director aimed for something iconic. I wanted to shoot him with the same sense of mythic weight that the original series gave him, but only after earning it within our story. This deliberate progression creates a subtle but powerful effect that viewers might not consciously register, but certainly feel. Paul Wesley's Kirk, a performance unlocked. The director also highlighted Paul Wesley's performance as a major component of the episode's success. For all the pressure of stepping into Kirk's boots, Wesley has consistently brought a thoughtful, modern angle to the character. But this episode, the director says, is where he fully arrived. To convey Kirk's internal conflict, Wesley leaned into moments of vulnerability that Trek rarely afforded the character in earlier eras. The director shared that Wesley requested extra rehearsal time for a key confrontation scene with Pike, wanting to deliver a performance less about bravado and more about honesty. That decision pays off in one of the season's most emotional beats, a private conversation between the two future legends, shot with minimal cuts to let the actors carry the moment. The director called it the heart of the episode, where Pike passes down a lesson Kirk will carry for the rest of his life. Kirk and Pike, a mentor dynamic finally fully explored. Until this point in the series, Kirk's appearances have largely been cameos or alternate timeline storylines. But Season 3's seminal episode finally provides sustained interaction between him and Captain Pike. The director revealed that this was deliberate. We wanted the audience to see what Pike sees in Kirk, and why Spock years later would serve under him so loyally. Their dynamic is defined by contrast. Pike is empathetic, measured, and deeply aware of the consequences of every command decision. Kirk is instinctual, brilliant, but prone to emotional leaps. The director explained that the episode dramatizes these differences not as conflict, but as complementary leadership philosophies. A crucial example occurs when Kirk proposes a bold, risky tactic to save a civilian transport. Pike initially rejects it, emphasizing the need to consider long-term outcomes. But after more data arrives, Pike revisits the idea and acknowledges that Kirk's quick reasoning was partially correct, just missing a piece that experience would have supplied. It's mentorship built on mutual respect, not hierarchy, the director says. That's what makes it powerful. Plotting the episode's moral dilemma, at the center of the story is a tough moral choice, interfering with an emerging conflict on a pre-warp world that borders a volatile area of space. Kirk, having a deeply personal connection to a survivor of the conflict, argues for intervention based on immediate humanitarian needs. Pike advocates for long-term stability and adherence to the Prime Directive. The director noted that this dilemma was chosen specifically to highlight the evolving moral landscape of the Strange New Worlds era. Instead of offering a convenient solution, the episode leans into complexity, something Trek fans have come to appreciate. In breaking down the episode, the director said, "We didn't want winners and losers. We wanted consequences." Indeed, the final decision, led jointly by Pike and Kirk, reflects both of their strengths and results in a compromise that saves lives but leaves lingering political uncertainty. This ambiguity, the director revealed, will feed into future storylines. The return of classic Trek themes with a modern touch. One of the director's favorite aspects of working on the episode was weaving in classic Trek DNA without making it feel like a simple homage. The script borrows thematic elements from episodes like Balance of Terror and the Corbomite Maneuver, stories where young Kirk faces fear, distrust, and the limits of his experience. But instead of retreading those ideas, the episode reframes them through modern sensibilities. For example, instead of pitting Kirk against an external enemy in a duel of wits, the episode makes Kirk's own instincts the antagonist. The biggest challenge Kirk faces here is himself, the director says. That's a very contemporary character approach. At the same time, the episode includes subtle visual and auditory references to the original series, from the use of vibrant color lighting in certain scenes to a brief riff of the classic Kirk theme woven into the score. These details help blend Strange New Worlds' sleek modern style with the warmth and energy of 1960s Trek, building toward Kirk's future. The director's breakdown makes one thing clear: this episode is not just a standalone adventure. It's a keystone in Kirk's developing arc throughout Strange New Worlds. While the show remains focused on Pike, the creative team understands the narrative weight of incorporating Kirk into this era. The director emphasized that every Kirk appearance must be meaningful and move him closer to the captain we one day meet aboard the USS Enterprise. This Season 3 episode does exactly that. It shows Kirk wrestling with self-doubt. It allows Pike to influence him in ways that will echo into the future. It deepens his relationships with Spock, Uhura, and other Enterprise crew members, laying groundwork for the eventual transition to the original series timeline. The director hinted that this is not the last will continue,